Hey guys, Omni here. Another week down means another episode of Loki's come out, and that means we're going to be heading over to our favorite breakdown channel, New Roxxcart. So if you're not subscribed to them, I highly recommend them. They do some really great breakdowns, some really great discussions on all our favorite MCU shows and more. So check them out. But today we're going to be going through Eric Voss's breakdown on the details we missed and Easter eggs from episode 2 of Loki. If you haven't seen my reaction to this week's episode, go check it out. It's on the channel right now. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, subscribe and we'll follow through the journey together and see how this thing unfolds and comes to a close. We're covering, again, all the stuff that comes out of Disney Plus, lots of DC stuff, pretty much anything in general pop culture that I can squeeze into my tight schedule. I try to cover here, so I hope you like it. But guys, today we're going to go ahead and pull up the latest New Rockstars video and see what we missed in this week's episode of Loki. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Loki episode 2, which does not bode well for our future, well, that of the sacred timeline, or our own coming environmental doom. The extinction of swallows? Are you kidding me? We couldn't save the birds. As always, there were so many hard to spot details hidden throughout this episode, so I'm gonna break it down shot by shot for everything you might have missed. Support this channel by checking out our new Loki-inspired merch options like the awesome shirt Loki Out of Time. You can get this at newrockstarsmerch.com. We opened on a Renaissance fair in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, 1985. The year time travel fiction really climbed to new popularity with the release of Back to the Future. Notice how as the dates swipe back to that, it looks like the first to swipe past is 2023, telling us that the TVA frame of reference for us is the current MCU present year of 2024. Hunter C20 tracks the Loki variant to this green tent with a golden sign out front for a miniature pony, green and gold of course being Loki's colors, but also coincidentally crossing in front of the temp pad is this blonde woman. Doesn't look like Sophia DiMartino, but they are looking for someone who looks like Loki when they really should be looking for someone who looks like that. So this episode ultimately reveals the variant to be a female, played by Sophia DiMartino, perhaps Lady Loki from the comics, which is a reincarnation of Loki's soul in a new female body. Though, if you look closely to alternate language dubs in the credits, she is credited as Sylvie, which could be for Sylvie Lushton, aka Enchantress. Sylvie is a girl in Broxton, Oklahoma when the Asgardians relocate there, and that same run in the comics. She wakes up with powers, and it's later suggested she might have been wholly created by Loki as a kind of joke. I suspect this show might be combining elements of Sylvie with Lady Loki, but since this show for now considers her to be a Loki variant, I'm just gonna call her Lady Loki here. Bonnie Tyler's 1984 song Holding Out for a Hero is queued up with the recording. Did Lady Loki take the time to audio edit a recording so that it transitioned on Holding Out for a Hero? Or was Holding Out for a Hero already the music this 1985 Ren Fair had queued up? Either way, this is some real Joker shit that tells us this Lady Loki has a flair for the dramatic and is willing to take her time tinkering with electronics. And the prize being the princess sets up our Loki as the hero we're holding out for, chasing his princess, all while I think the evil is actually something else that could prevail. Lady Loki pairs her consciousness with C20. Wanda Maximoff's illusion curse is a similar look to this with the eyes lighting up, but here the spell is mind control, something Loki previously could only do with the Mind Stone and the Scepter, but we will soon learn from Mobius that variant Lokis have different powers. The close-up of the temp pad shows icons for Time Door and Miss Minutes. Again, Miss Minutes is a selectable function as she is on the elevator. Maybe at any given moment they can unleash her as a weapon or kind of sound an alarm.
That would be creepy. That'd be terrifying.
Miss Minutes is a recording or if she's alive.
Are you recording or are you alive?
But also
sort of
hilarious.
Yeah, he tries to swat her, and the fact that Miss Minutes goes to the effort of dodging these confirms she exists in the real world, reacting moment to moment, and you can hear her shoes making noises.
Watch it. Where's your manners? Oh, hey, quit it.
I love that gleeful look on Loki's face.
On the hourglass, which remember is the symbol at the heart of the TVA logo, maybe showing that she could have some authority over the TVA. Like I theorized, she might be linked with the Timekeepers, kind of the way the Kree Supreme Intelligence is a reactive AI that controls that society. Now on the screen is a multiple choice question. Thanos has 2 apples. He eats both, but realizes he wants more. He goes back in time 20 minutes and eats the apples again. Does this mean the apples will not have existed in the timeline he left? A, no, because time is constantly happening. B, the question doesn't matter because a branch cannot change another time branch. Or C, Thanos would have been hungry prior because the grandfather paradox already accounted for the change in matter before its move. Love it. All 3 options are explanations we have heard in time travel fiction before, like A being our approach, time is just always happening, C being our this always happened approach in which things are what they are meant to be in the future, and B being the correct answer within Loki's logical framework, in which branch timelines cannot affect other branch timelines, they each play out in real time independently. This is actually the point Mobius later corrects Loki on at the fair, and Loki didn't know because he's slacking off here. And I love how it uses rewinding apples, the example Doctor Strange used to display time travel, and reminds us that Thanos died hungry. Also shows that the TVA knows who Thanos is and apparently considered his genocide just part of the sacred timeline. Mobius shows some other Loki variants, including a blue one. Remember, Loki's natural frost giant form is blue skin. He's variant L1247, but when you punch up to close-up, it changes to 6792, and variant L1247 shows Loki as a cyclist having won the Tour de France. Then a beastly Loki who appears to be L6792, a bearded Loki L8914 with natural black horns, and then a Loki with a more traditional Viking armor L7803.
I really like that
Mobius
design.
says each Loki has a different power set, but all of them seem to have the power of illusion projection, though Loki corrects him saying that there's a distinction between illusion projection and duplication casting. Illusion projection being like when Loki projected shapeshifted forms of Cap and Odin over himself, or when he projected Thor's severed arm in the Dark World. Meanwhile, duplication casting being anytime Loki tricked other people with alternate doubles of himself. But this clarification of Loki's power set helps set up Loki's sorcery as far more diverse than we realized. For example, him using telekinesis to summon a Roomba in that Roxxcart fight, something I don't think we had ever previously seen him do. In the Ren Fair, Loki's talking doesn't work on Mobius and the others. They end up using a reset charge on the tent, this time giving us a close-up of it. It looks like the main chamber containing this orange fluid, but then the charge releases an upper chamber of purple fluid that mixes until it reaches a saturation point that releases this rainbowy puddle that resets everything within the radius. It's almost like these are made of specific amounts of matter and antimatter that mix together, and that collision undoes the fabric of the nearby reality. And as we see this branch pruned on the chronomonitor screen, other past branch locations tick past, including Nidavellir, that's the armory realm where Thor met Eitri and acquired Stormbreaker in Infinity War, and Sakaar, that's the trash planet of Thor Ragnarok where Loki, Thor, Banner, and Valkyrie escaped. So even though it seemed like the TVA was Earth specific from the animation last episode, they actually oversee all the planets in the known MCU universe. Renslayer's office has the statue of Timekeeper Ast centered right behind her seat, just like in the courtroom, and just like in the final shot of the end credits, we now begin in close-up on this one. Also notice that Zorth and Vanth are holding hourglasses, but Ast's arms are outstretched in kind of a saintly pose. Mobius even begins to say something about the odd one out, but Renslayer cuts him off.
Although I shouldn't say that. That one looks like he's got
The Timekeepers are monitoring every aspect of this case.
Yeah, I think these are more clues that this Timekeeper in particular might have a special relationship with Renslayer. Mobius points out other mission trophy artifacts like a snow globe, and you can later see it reads San Diego. Renslayer says,
You're not the only analyst working for me.
yeah, Mobius brings up this other analyst a few times, including this pen from Franklin D. Roosevelt High School.
I don't remember this. This must be from that analyst you keep on the side.
Yeah, Mobius seems a bit jealous of this mystery analyst, so let's all keep an eye out for some other analysts that might be in the shadows. Notice how Mobius does not use a coaster, leaving more ring stains on that table. The end credits actually show a ring stain on his chronomonitor handbook. So here's another possible clue. Like maybe the reason Mobius doesn't remember leaving these ring stains is because this other analyst is a variant of him. And just like Loki is one of many Lokis in a box, so is Mobius. He could be arriving at his own future existential crisis. Notice how Renslayer Renslayer signs a report Slayer, a little tease showing us she's not afraid to get her hands dirty, and Mobius signs MMM since his full name is Mobius M. Mobius. And I love the hallway's labyrinthian design. Like, notice the third corridor is the same set as the first one that they walked down. Like, the set designers just doubled it up, maybe as a way to make Loki seem lost and helpless in the TVA. Now, the elevator's descent was shot in the real-life Atlanta Marriott Marquis, but as the camera tilts down, you can see how they actually recomposited the lower levels with those big timekeeper statues and the bookshelves of the TVA archives. Loki reads a report talking about
special
the various
effects shit's
destruction of
so cool.
Central California oil fields.
How
Feel
people
closely.
like
This
put
would
these
be
things
another
together.
oil field that she destroyed after that one in Oklahoma last episode. Maybe she genuinely is trying to reverse the impact of climate change. In the background of this library setting, you can actually see the floors behind Loki reading SYF, LK3, 2W1. All of these correspond to floors in the elevator, but one of them is 372, which could be a nod to Thor 372, which is the first comic appearance of the Timekeepers. The librarian shuts Loki down, saying the creation of the TVA, the beginning of time, the end of time, these are all classified. Just another sign that TVA Narrative Commission's video about the history of the Timekeepers may or may not be the full story. So Loki reads the report on the destruction of Asgard, as we saw in Thor Ragnarok. Listed here is a Class 7 apocalypse, total planetary destruction, 9,719 deaths, which would be the entire civilization minus the refugees who escaped on the Statesman. And you can also see codename Revengers, which is the team name that Thor improvised Valkyrie in Ragnarok.
Has it got a name?
Yeah, it's called the Revenges.
The Revenges?
Because I'm getting revenge. You're getting revenge, and what do you want revenge?
I'm undecided.
But before we continue, thanks to Blue Blocks for sponsoring this video.
All right,
See,
let's skip ahead a little
staring
bit.
at screens can be really tough on
So
your
like
eyes.
another thing, the
Particularly
high
screen
school
intense days. I noticed my
can
eyes are
reference
sponsoring this video. So Loki deduces
a different character, because I was reading about that later, because I was like, that seemed like such a nod to something, and there is a character in there that I think it points to, or at least a couple articles that I read that point to someone called Molecule Man. Don't know much about him. I didn't read further because I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. So I don't know. Could just be a fun little nod, but we'll see. I like his theory though about it being like a Mobius variant, because I would also put a lot of perspective and put a lot of things into question for Mobius himself. You know, maybe it wasn't himself, the one we're following, that left some of those rings on there, but multiple versions of him. That would be interesting.
From lack of variance energy detected that their killer must be hiding in historical apocalypses, which end those societies anyway. Creating this example of ruining Mobius' salad and stealing Casey's Boku fruit juice, kind of like Josta, another beverage from the 90s that you cannot get anymore. He also mentions maybe pushing Hulk off the Rainbow
I only
Bridge,
remember
which
Josta.
Bruce Banner very nearly does during that final battle. Loki's mind may also go to that because Hulk having to descend the stairs was what led to Tony fumbling the Tesseract and allowing Loki to escape in a branch timeline. Loki brings up other possible apocalyptic events.
It could be a tidal wave, it could be a meteor, it could be a volcano, a supernova.
Yeah, we actually see two of those huge waves from the hurricane, the volcano Mount Vesuvius. So we may also see a meteor and a supernova as upcoming apocalypses on this show, like that interplanetary calamity teased in trailer footage. So they visit the destruction of Pompeii in 79 AD. You can actually see it written in Roman numerals on the wall there as well. Here, Loki tests creating chaos by releasing these goats.
Be free, my horned friends, be free!
Yeah, Loki calls them his horned friends, referencing his own horns, the horns of all variant Lokis, maybe foreshadowing the way he will let other horned friends go free. Mobius talks about his love of jet skis.
In the early 1990s, for a brief, shining moment, there was a beautiful union of form and function, which we call the jet ski.
As a Floridian can confirm, jet skis are peak form of transportation. Like you can imagine, a rule-confined TVA agent must love the idea of a solo-piloted craft where you can wander freely without any speed limits or traffic lines you have to stay within. If we don't see this man on a jet ski by the end of this series, we will riot. They debate the comparative absurdity of their origin stories. Timekeeper space lizards versus Norse mythology.
And it's real because I believe it's real.
Actually, later Marvel Comics linked the Asgardian mythology with the Celestials by saying Asgardians are aliens in a certain celestial mutation reincarnation cycle in which the beliefs of those they protect map onto them, in this case, the Norse people of Midgard. Mobius explains that the TVA protects what came before, while the Timekeepers untangle the sacred timeline's epilogue from its infinite branches, and that once they're finished,
No more Nexus events, just order, and we meet in peace at the end of time.
this would mean that Nexus events are accidents that only occur because the sacred timeline isn't yet woven tightly enough by the Timekeepers. So they dictate which random strands need to be clipped in order to make the rope that stretches endlessly into the future perfectly tight. And once that process is complete, then they all meet at the end of all time. Mobius remembers that kablooey gum from episode 1.
Candy. Do you have candy on Asgard?
Yeah, grapes, nuts.
No wonder you're so bitter.
Actually, remember when Loki posed as Odin Asgard, he snacked on grapes while watching that play. Since that gum was only sold on Earth from 2047 to 2051, they look at various disasters like the climate disaster of 2048, the tsunami of 2051, the 2050 extinction of the swallow, and the 2049 eruption of Krakatoa, which is a volcanic island in Indonesia that erupted in 1883 and apparently will erupt again. Yeah, quite a bleak picture for Earth in the coming 30 years. Can't wait. But they zero in on the Roxxcart
Well, we all knew that.
Class 10 apocalypse when a Category 8 hurricane hit Haven Hills, Alabama in 2050. Now the report says entire town annihilated, 10,835 humans dead, but planetary body intact, meaning there are worse calamities coming where the planet will be destroyed, with a reference to another case file presumably describing when that happens. Now Category 8 hurricane is just depressing since the scale really only goes up to Category 5.
Jesus.
Future meteorologists must adjust the scale for increasingly powerful storms
We're
to
fucked.
the rise of global ocean temperatures. Now, Roxxcart with the two X's is an nod to Roxxon. That's the conglomerate of Marvel Comics that has shown up in the background of Iron Man movies. In the future, they apparently build an entire company town with massive Costco-style superstores. Because why not branch out?
Not
to retail,
surprised.
right? By the way, another Marvel corporation, Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM from Iron Man 3, actually made a little cameo in episode 1 as the maker of that shovel from the year 2222. So Mobius gives Loki back his daggers, which Hunter B-15 immediately confiscates. I love that. Since the camera follows them into the locker room without cutting, they have to time Wunmi's entrance perfectly so that she'll be right there to snatch them a second later. I just love when you can see the effort the actors and the director go into good old-fashioned comedic timing just via blocking. So Haven Hills 2050 is revealed with this electronic billboard of the peaceful seaside town with rocks on smokestacks polluting the sky, which of course leads to the climate disaster that's now consuming it, so that this billboard blows down, revealing its true status right behind, before and after. Beachfront now washed way in, tons of flooding, structures collapsing, buildings exploding. This has got to be my favorite disaster imagery of any Marvel title.
It's gorgeous.
Because it's not at all caused by invading alien threats or robots run amok. It's just humanity over time. It also neatly reflects this series' production design of futuristic elements being destructive and toxic and crappy, while the retro design of the TVA seems perpetual, ironclad, clean. I also love the little design details they put into the 2050 Roxxcart store, like a holographic greeter in the parking lot, this rolling helper robot, employee badges that light up reading, "Welcome, can I help you?" Also in the break room, there's a poster reading, "A great place to work, a great place to shop, everything you need for happiness." Yikes. That shopper is buying azaleas because of a hurricane sale, meaning that these must be common enough that Roxxcart schedules sales events around them. But this guy turns out to be a Lady Loki drone, and he transfers his consciousness to B-15, and then to that employee Randy, and then finally to this Haas. And like C-20, B-15 wakes up from Lady Loki's possession shivering, coming back from some curse that rattled her to her core. C-20 reveals that she told Lady Loki where the Timekeepers are, meaning that they are probably the true target of this sacred timeline bombing. And finally, the villain reveals her face.
What is this about?
This isn't about you.
So it is confirmed. Sophia DiMartino is playing a female Loki variant, most likely Lady Loki. Now in the comics, Lady Loki is not really an alternate timeline variant, but Loki's disembodied soul after Ragnarok reincarnated into a female body. However, that still might be the case here, since this Loki can transfer her soul into new bodies. She may just be a human female that Loki's soul decided to stay in. But also notice that one of the horns on her crown is broken off. Could be a nod to Loki's look in Agent of Asgard.
I didn't notice noticed that.
Or a reflection of how she might not consider herself a true Loki, the way she told Loki not to call her that. She may be someone with a Loki-style curse, but go by Sylvie. Also, she might be telepathic, because as she reveals herself, listen closely. You can hear Tom Hiddleston's voice echoing in that.
Yeah.
What is this about?
This isn't about you.
Yeah, making her words here a response to Loki's thoughts. So using stolen reset charges and stolen temp pads, she bombs
But he
the
said
sacred
that out loud
timeline,
like
creating branches
seconds ago.
throughout time and space. Renslayer's screen actually shows a lot of the dates and locations. We gotta break these down.
Vormir.
Actually, first in the Chrome Monitor room, you can see Nowhere. That's a severed celestial head location in Guardians of the
Niflheim.
Galaxy. And then Barcelona. And then below, Niflheim. That's the Asgardian realm that Hela was believed to be exiled in. And then Dartford, England. But then onto Renslayer's screen, you see August 3rd, 1522, Phong Nha, Vietnam. March 31st, 1492, Lisbon, Portugal. Perhaps something related to Columbus's Atlantic voyage that year? April 23rd, 2301, Vormir. Vormir's the resting place of the Soul Stone seen in Infinity War and Endgame. April 23rd was Infinity War's release date in 2018. October 25th, 1551, Thornton, Colorado. November 22nd, 1999, Cookeville, Tennessee. And then February 16th, 2004, Asgard. So the home of Loki and Thor, 8 years or so prior to the events of the first Thor film. October 3rd, 1390, Rome, Italy. I'm assuming some
Ego.
Vatican drama there. August 13th, 1984, Sakaar,
I'm
Teo.
reading
so again,
ahead.
Sakaar from Thor Ragnarok. Teo is the name of its star system. 1984 could have been during the reign of one of those past arena champions that we saw on the outside of the building. February 2nd, 1808, Barikara, Colombia.
Maybe Beta
July
Ray Bill.
17th, 1700, Porvoo, Finland. December 17th, 1382, Ego, as in Ego the Living Planet, showing that, yeah, this guy was planting seeds around the galaxy for over 700 years before he met Peter's mother. October 13th, 1982, Titan. Titan, of course, the planet Thanos grew up on, and the ruins of which he fought the Avengers upon in Infinity War. 1982 could have been around when Titan came upon environmental ruin that set Thanos on his mission. September 21st, 1947, New York, New York. I was thinking Cap's return date in Endgame, but I think that was confirmed to be 1948. March 1st, 1984, Tokyo. January 3rd, 51 AD, Hala. Hala is the Kree homeworld seen in Captain Marvel. They reached peak evolution years before humanity did, so this could be right in the midst of their advanced race's history. August 2nd, 1999, Kingsport, Tennessee. September 24th,
man, so many.
1001, Xandar. Now, Xandar is the home to the Nova Corps seen in Guardians of the Galaxy. November 23rd, 2005, Beijing. July 18th, 1903, Madrid. And then above the time doors, you can also see Portland in 2004 and Jotunheim. Jotunheim is Loki's home realm, land of the frost giants. Now, I plan to dig more into each of these dates and locations.
Yeah, I was like,
because I
there's a
think
lot of
Loki might have
information,
targeted each of these specifically to
like
alter
by
history.
seeing like what
So I'll be digging into
happened
that in a separate video coming out
those
tomorrow.
days
We end with
and those
Renslayer
years,
grabbing
the
her
ones at
staff,
least that
likely
exist
realizing that the variant's
or
real
have
plan
happened
is to
so far.
flush out TVA agents, leaving it undefended so that she can get to the Timekeepers. And that's probably where Lady Loki is headed now, with Loki close behind, either
Yeah,
to
they're gonna
stop
have to
her
all
or
hands
join
on
her,
deck.
but in either case, not according to the script of the sacred timeline. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA.
All right, guys, there you go.
Subscribe to New Rockstars for everything.
There we go. That was a fun one. Yeah, like there was so many dates, so many, a lot that have happened. As far as like dates that have occurred in the past, about like MCU's alternate present, off-planet stuff, or in planets that doesn't exist. So like, I'm curious, and if he does make another video about it, maybe we'll check it out. But like, I'm curious as to what are some of the major events in the world that happened in those locations, on those dates, and those years. So I think it'd be fun to see like how these reset charges affect that. And, you know, they said at one point, like, the reset charges do have like a radius, and that's why after the Nexus energy gets to a certain point, they can't erase the branch fully. They can't contain it. So I'm wondering, like, what effects does like a couple of bombs just like scatter bombed into the timeline have? Do people in the vicinity just get erased? Do they get reset? Like, is Lady Loki just like erasing people at random in droves along the timeline. So it's I don't know, it's pretty interesting. Or did they all go to the timekeepers and we're just seeing the splinters that like he kind of mentioned, like they mentioned in the show, is like they're still unraveling the time stream to lock it down. So like maybe if all of those took out the timekeepers, which I don't think is the case. I think it was meant to imply that those reset charges each went to a different time and space, like a different location and time. So like, but I'm just thinking like, what if instead it was all used to take out the timekeepers, and now because they're gone and not presiding over the time stream, everything's just falling apart in like segments and pieces. I don't know. There's a couple different ways you can go with it. I like the whole, I feel like there's definitely something weird going on with Renslayer. Either the timekeepers don't exist, she's got a relationship with one of them, or she's related to one of them, or I don't know. Like, Mobius hasn't met them. She avoids questions about them. I mean, they're also plastered everywhere. And there's some like darker secret about it, because also there's like the C20 was talking. I was like, it's real, and then admitted to telling them that she pretty much revealed the location of the timekeepers. At least she's met them, but like Mobius hasn't. A little weird to me. Seems like something's up there. But I also do like the theory that maybe the other agent is another Mobius. Because I feel like with the conversations we had with him and talks on variants and whatnot, I think it would be pretty interesting to see him deal with that fact if that were to be the case. Otherwise, like I said, there was, looking it up, like, people were kind of tying it into Molecule Man. I don't know how big of a deal that is. It's not a character I'm familiar with. It was the first time reading about it. Apparently, they play play into quite a few cosmic events. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how that unfurls. And yeah, whether or not it's Lady Loki or Enchantress or whoever, I feel like it's going to be some mix of the two, because we know the TVA can at least identify variants. They would be able to tell if it wasn't a Loki, is what I feel like. So maybe on some level, maybe it's like a half truth, or maybe it's some type of magic that they aren't aware of, because we did have that little breakdown of where Loki had to explain like the intricacies of the difference between illusion projection and, you know, his self illusions, the transmutation he kind of does on himself in a way. The replication, I forget exactly what it was, but I don't know. It feels like maybe they don't know as much as they think. And then, of course, everything gets even more shady with the classified information on the beginning of time and the beginning of the TVA and stuff like that. I wonder if Mobius himself, if the time analysts even have access to that, or if that's something like you need higher access for. I don't know. But that's also not abnormal for organizations like this. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's anything else that I'm not thinking of right now that I wanted to kind of mention. But guys, another awesome breakdown. Like you said, there's a lot to prune through from there that like can't always squeeze into one video without making these like ridiculously long or having them hamper getting these out on time. But I liked it. Guys, check out New Rockstars if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel as well if you want to see more of my reactions to this, Loki, the shows, whatever. Hang out. Have a good time. Links to my socials and my Discord are down in the description of this video. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends, Mandy Sherritt, Ryan Karen, and Jason Coleman. Thank you guys so much for your support. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.